What's going on, everyone? Welcome on into Coffee with Brodes. How are you on this Monday morning? Monday morning, that's right. It's the start of a new week. The 76ers get a big win. That's right. They get a huge win. They beat the Washington Wizards. It wasn't the prettiest in the world, but they grinded it out and they faced a little adversity, and that's what they needed to do. It wasn't going to be the smoothest. You kind of figure that based off the fact that they did not play for a little bit of time, waiting for the playing games. It got a little wonky. They couldn't make their shots. And you figured once they started to make their shots, especially when Joel Embiid ends up getting out of the game because of foul trouble, Tobias Harris kept you in there, but you weren't making your threes. Once you started to make your threes, it would be a little bit different of a of a of a ball game. And that's exactly what we saw. So, as always, we have our coffee with us today. Cheers to the coffee. That is an amazing sip of coffee. And we shall begin. $5 coming in from Jim here. Says, thanks for the love, Brodes. You are the GOAT. Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim, for coming in here and hanging out on this Monday morning. I really do appreciate it. Where are we here? What's up, Brodes? What's up, Brodes? What's up, Brodes? Morning, Brodes. Hey, how are you, Adrian? Thanks for hopping in. Arm Zebra, what's going on? Cheers, Dan. Cheers to you, Dan. The refs were terrible yesterday. Yes, they were. The refs were garbage. We're here to watch them. We are not here to watch them. We are here to watch the basketball game. We are here to watch Joel Embiid dominate in the post. We are here to witness some exciting basketball with the big man who can be very explosive and annihilate the opposition. And instead, we're watching him with some foul trouble. But that goes on Doc Rivers. I think Doc Rivers has to challenge one of those earlier fouls. If you're not going to challenge foul 2, that's fine. But then you got to challenge foul 3. Something has to be addressed there because you can't afford to go to your big man or go to another big man and put Joel Embiid on the bench with about 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. Luckily, you had Tobias Harris go insane. Luckily, you had your number 2 guy step up to another level, and he was very forceful out there. That was amazing from him. And, without that, I don't know if you're in the same territory in that third quarter or at the end of the second quarter to make that final push. Although they probably would have anyway because they were playing a better brand of basketball at that point. But still, there was something to be said about playing without Joel Embiid there. I think Doc Rivers has to use one of his challenges. He probably would have won the second one. I don't know if he would have won, the third one. I don't know if he would have won the second one, but I think he would have won that third one. I think he's got to be a little sharper with the usage of the challenge play. That's for sure. 6 points is sorry for an all-star in this era. Yeah, look, the Ben Simmons thing is obviously a hot topic. For me, Ben Simmons, at the end of the game, you saw problems that will show its ugly head later on. Now, that doesn't take away from the 15 assists. That doesn't take away from the 15 rebounds. It doesn't take away from everything he did well, the defense. He did a lot of things very well. The back end of that fourth quarter, though, where your big man is dribbling the ball off of his foot and it's going out of bounds, and it's because you were afraid to put the ball in your primary ball handler's hands, and that matters. To act as if that doesn't matter. See, that's not the conversation, though. It's not about specifically this given game, that given night. Yes, they beat the Washington Wizards. But if you are now, this is where it bothers me. How can you just pretend it doesn't matter that you can't go to your point guard at the end of a basketball game? Because you could not go to your point guard at the end of the basketball game. So you're right. He had a lot of impact on this game. He was a big part of this game. With that being said, he was an issue at the end of this game. Both things are true, and you might be able to get away with it against the Washington Wizards. You might not be able to get away with it later on in that playoff series, or in this playoff run as a whole. So it's a problem. It's a problem. That's where I have the issue. People were not happy with me a little bit on the post-game show on 97.5 because of my take on Ben Simmons. Well, I hate to break it to you. There's a problem if you're looking at the long-term run here of Ben Simmons. You can't go to your point guard. You cannot go to your point guard. How is that not a problem? Explain to me how that's not an issue, that you can't go to your point guard at the end of a basketball game. Because to me, that's a massive issue. That's a big problem. That doesn't take away from how awesome he was. Well, it's not. I mean, it's not really beating a dead horse because now we're in the playoffs. So now it matters more. Now it's like possession matters more. I mean, so now I'm not allowed to talk about it because we've said it so many times. Or at some point is like, I don't like that. At some point it has to change. So basically your theory is because we've been talking about it for so long, the conversation needs to stop. Well, I disagree with that. I think the conversation only needs to intensify more because it's continuing to happen and it's not changing. So I look at it from that angle more so than, well, because we've been talking about it forever, we got to stop because we're constantly talking about it. We're constantly talking about it for a reason. And that's, and that's reality of the situation. Andrew said, what's good, Brodes? What are the odds we get that level of production from Tobias? Maybe not that level. I mean, that's extreme. You're talking about 37 points. You're talking about almost a 30-point first half, 28 points. I mean, that's aggressive. That's unbelievable. That's insane. I don't know if it's going to be to that level, but I think you're going to get this locked in playoff mode. I think you're going to get head down, let me drive to the basket. I think you're going to get strong takes. I think you're going to get smart basketball out of Tobias Harris. So I don't know if it's going to necessarily result in 37 points, but I think it's going to result in a lot of good play, strong play, veteran leadership play, successful plays. And that's very important for sure. Defense in the fourth was insane. Yeah, I think the defense was big. The defense was big. There's definitely reality to that. The defense was strong. The assist, strong. Rebounds, strong. Ball in the hands late, F-. Why can't that be recognized? Why can't that be an accepted answer? A+ in 3 categories, F- in another. Yeah, it does suck that we have to wait until Wednesday. Wednesday's the next time they're going to be playing, and it's like, I want it now. Damn it. I want to see them play tomorrow. I wouldn't even mind a back-to-back. No, of course, no back-to-backs, but this series, to me, this was a situation where you could, if you're the Wizards, you could punch the Sixers in the mouth. And they had a chance to, and I think they let that one slip. I still think they find a way to grind out one of these victories. Maybe it's one in Washington. But at the end of the day, you look at a scenario where the Sixers get on board, they get their win, they squeeze out one. It didn't have to be pretty. It made sense that it wasn't pretty, in my opinion. And then from there, you kind of, you take your next step. Philly says, you already know that Wizards are going to be running and gunning on Wednesday. Yeah, they were trying to run and gun yesterday. Locking in is key, and the Sixers should never start off a game like that, especially a playoffs. Well, I mean, look, they just missed their shots. They had open looks. It's not like their three-point attempts were egregious looks. Furkan Korkmaz had a couple open ones that he missed. A couple of the guys that you would rely on to make some of their shots missed. So you did have good-looking shots. You shot 1 for 11 to start, and then you went 3 for 17 at the half. So, I mean, it's not like the shot. Sometimes your shots don't fall. And then what ends up happening? The third quarter comes around, and you have Tobias Harris, Danny Green, Seth Curry, bang, 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 making threes, and Mark Zumoff with an amazing call. Yes! And then just lets it sit and lets it settle and let the fans fill the noise. And it was amazing. And you got that. So you figured it would work itself out. You figured if you end up, it's the back of the baseball card theory. If your numbers tell you average X, eventually, no matter where you are at a certain point, you will get back to averaging X. So if you start out 1 for 11, eventually your shots are going to start falling and you're going to be making those. And from there, it kind of is what it is. So there's that, Westbrook blows. Yeah, Westbrook, I mean, I tried telling everybody, and I'm not the only one to say it. He can get as many numbers as he wants. He can get as many triple-doubles as he wants. And it's hard to do what he does. It's ridiculous. There's a reason why people don't average triple-doubles the way that he averages triple-doubles. With that being said, though, there's a reason why he does not involve himself with winning basketball. He is not correlated to winning basketball. And, there's a reason why that is. He's just How many shots was he taking where he was trying to go off the backboard and he missed it completely by like 5 feet, and he tried to kiss it off the glass, end up hitting the glass and going nowhere? I mean, geez. How do I feel about Ben's performance? I thought he was masterful in 3 areas. I thought he was pitiful in 1 area. That's kind of how I assess it. I thought he was very strong defending, very strong facilitating, very strong grabbing rebounds. And at the same time, I thought that he was very, very bad in late game situations, which has been a knock on the Ben Simmons career to this point. So you saw similar reasons to be upset that we've seen for the last handful of playoff runs. And you also saw some amazing, amazing, amazing play out of Ben Simmons. So, that's kind of how I see it. I'm upset that the guy that's supposed to run your offense and calm everything down, you can't go to him in late game spots. That's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, Bertans, it feels like whenever he plays the Sixers, he's going to cruise. Whenever he plays the Sixers, he's going to cruise and hit a couple threes where you're like, come on, man, Bertans is killing us. He went through that stretch at one point in the second half where he banked a couple, where he delivered with a couple threes, I should say. And, yeah. Doc praised Doc's going to praise everybody. That's what coaches do. Doc praised his game. What's your thoughts on Doc praises even when he doesn't score? That's what he's going to do. I mean, there's a reason why him and Mikey Miss went back and forth the other day after the interview. It's like, Doc, he needs to shoot. No, he doesn't need to shoot. You guys focus on it too much. Doc, he needs to shoot. There's a reason. Doc's going to praise everybody. Doc's doing this. It's his job. His job is to protect his players, to have his players' backs. Do you expect Doc Rivers to go up there and say Ben Simmons needs to be better offensively? If you thought he was ever going to say that, well, it's kind of where it's at. Bertans is a sniper, though. It seems like he's more of a sniper where he kills the Sixers. Like, oh, man. Oh, man. Laurie says, I wish we could have seen Nick Pivetta against the Red Sox. I agree with you there. That would have been lovely. Although they probably would have got their asses kicked and struck out 13 times. So who knows? Who knows? Let me see here. So I got to get a couple things done on my other screen. Your coffee pot is broken? Jeez, dude. How do you start your day with your coffee pot broken? Do you have to go grab some? You got to go grab something, right? You got to go out. Did you do that? Did you at least go somewhere, grab a cup of coffee, go to Wawa, go to Dunkin', go to Starbucks, go to anything that gets you your coffee up there, wherever you are? I mean, you can't wake up in the morning and not have a cup of coffee. Coffee's overrated. Now, how do you come into a show called Coffee with Brodes and start talking about how overrated it is? Coffee's the greatest thing on earth. I was thinking, if I didn't drink coffee, that morning wake-up feel that I get, I wake up with a huge smile on my face, knowing that I'm about to have the best hour of my life drinking a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Like, when I wake up, all I think about, my alarm goes off and it's coffee. My alarm goes off and it's coffee. My alarm goes off and it's coffee. And if you're not thinking about that, I don't know how you wake up out of bed. I don't know how you wake up without feeling about that. He may have to go to timeout. Well, I don't want to do it to the wrong person. Remember, I weirdly give people the wrong bands and the wrong, because the way the chat goes, and it's ridiculous. What are my thoughts on George Hill? I think he's potentially going to be huge in the half court in the fourth. Yeah, I mean, we've been stressing that since the acquisition. That's actually been something that we have discussed for a little bit of time here with him, is that's what he's going to do well. I thought he had a very strong game. I thought, like, under the radar kind of. If you're looking at that secondary third-tier storylines after Tobias Harris, after Joel Embiid, after Ben Simmons, you then go to the next tier, which is George Hill was very strong and, somewhat did a lot of solid professional things that might not show up on the stat sheet, might not pop, might not be the sexiest to the eye, but you realize that, there was a big situation for him to sneak into. 18 minutes, helped calm things down, hit a big three at one point, came up with some nice buckets. Ben Simmons with a beautiful pass to him as he's cutting backdoor. You can see the slow motion on the replay. He ends up getting a nice, easy 2 points from there. So I thought George Hill really calmed things down at times and played a professional, sound game, brought some things defensively as well. I thought that he was very solid throughout that game one for sure. Coffee just gives me the runs. The risk to reward isn't there for me. That's definitely a thing. I mean, to act as if that's not a part of this, well, then you're wrong. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's needed though. It's needed. I love our bench, says Thog. I mean, I don't know if I love our bench. Curry, Shake, well, Curry's the starter, but Shake, Hill, Maxey can give us 20 on any night. I did not like Shake's game. I know his second half run was better than his first half run, but I did not like Shake Milton's game. Tyrese Maxey gave you 7 minutes. I liked his 7 minutes. I just don't know if it's going to be very much more as we continue to move along in the postseason. Yeah, I like George Hill. Seth Curry's not a bench player though, so it's hard for me. When they went full bench and they went full bench once in the second half, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It wasn't the worst case scenario situation. And then they went Tobias plus full bench in that first half, and that was an issue. That's where the Wizards went on a 10-0 run. Joel Embiid was in foul trouble. Joel and Ben were both off of the floor, and I don't think it's ironic that as soon as they both go off the floor, you see a scenario where the Wizards make a bit of a push. So there's that. Matthew with the $2 donation. Thoughts on Westbrook out of bounds play? I thought his foot was honestly up. I thought his heel was up. So, but I also understand them not going back to overturning it. It's not like you can 100% agree with the replay booth that it was obvious that it could have been returned. So there's that. We need a backup four. Yeah, I mean, I think your backup four in theory is going to be Ben Simmons as you move forward. You know, it's not Mike Scott. You can go with the. I know they've relied with that heavy guard set where they could put Matisse Thybulle in that area. But even when Matisse Thybulle is in that area, you still lack scoring ability. He did take 2 threes, which definitely makes me feel a little good about it because I know he didn't make them, but there's something to be said about taking those threes, even though he's not a three-point shooter. Would he be afraid? Would he be shy of the moment? It's playoff basketball. No, Matisse, you're going to have to let them fly. So I like the fact that he took the threes, even though he didn't make the threes. But yeah, I mean, your options are Ben Simmons at the 4, and you can put Matisse Thybulle at the 4. But then again, it matters on who you're playing. It matters on matchup. It matters on that area. But yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about the whole backup 4, like a legit stretch 4. You don't really have that because Ben can't stretch 4. Matisse hangs out in the corner, but he's not a threat. You don't have the stretch 4 ability. It all depends on exactly who you're playing off against, who you're playing against as a whole. Furcon Corkmosh with the $3 donation coming in. Knicks Hawks game. Burks popped off. He did. He definitely did. The last play I know was pissing a lot of Knicks fans off there. The last play bothered some. The Trae Young floater was gross, though. Trae Young delivered. Trae Young hit you with the shush. Trae Young gave you a big shot. That was a fun game. The atmosphere was awesome in Madison Square Garden. Just as a pure basketball fan, you don't get many opportunities over the last handful of seasons to witness Madison Square Garden being at its best and having a lot of fans and seeing Spike Lee. So I know we hate the New York Knicks and they bother us, but it's good for the brand of basketball. It's good to see the Knicks. It's fun to watch the reaction afterwards. It's all that. It's amazing to see. So, I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it. I did. I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it. Thank you so much for the donation. No, I would never say such a thing. I would never say such a thing. We've recorded an open ice hits this morning, by the way. To be fair, when you're talking about that many overtimes, though, it's a flip of the coin. So it's not like the Carolina Hurricanes were in a bounce away from going up 3-1, but instead it's 2-2. And the atmosphere in Nashville was rocking. The atmosphere in that building was just on another level, and that played a huge role in the outcome. While I'm watching the Winnipeg Jets come back from a 4-1 deficit in that third period, and there's not one fan to be cheering in Canada. So it's a little disappointing to see such an outrageous comeback and it play out the way that it did, It's like, damn, come on. Uh, Jude says, being at the Sixers game and hearing a 60-plus-year-old man behind me yelling to Ben to bend his knees on the free throws was amazing. That's funny. There's nothing better than the crowd teaching the player how to actually do anything. That is pretty funny. Look, I get the frustration, though. To act as if you can't be frustrated with Ben after that game is just not fair. It's just not fair. I think you can analyze it objectively throughout, where he was very, very good. He was very good in a lot of ways. But that doesn't mean he wasn't good in a specific area that we expect him to take that leap in. So I don't know why that bothers people. I don't know why that frustrates individuals when you can acknowledge that he was in a very important role and he had 15 assists, which is just ridiculous. I mean, it's magnificent to see him play that well with passing and facilitating. But it's also ridiculous to see him fail in the half court again, where we need to see him take those next steps. Yes, I know, but if you're just looking at it from that angle, where 15 assists is 30 points, it's not about that. It's not about just the points that are scored off of those assists. It's about the way teams can defend you in the last seconds and in that final 3 minutes in the final frame. That's going to cause you a lot of issues. That's going to give you a lot of problems. So you're right. Throughout the game, those 15 assists are points, and you are going to get those points that are significant to the outcome. But that doesn't mean with 2 to 3 to 4 minutes to go, when you can't put the ball in your best passer's hands, that's a problem. That's what I'm trying to say. You're right. He is an amazing passer. He gives you 15 assists. There's a reason why we look at that as beautiful. With that said, if that same person can't pass the ball because he can't have the ball in his hands, that's an issue also. That's a problem also. And that's where I have the issue. I don't have an issue, though, with Deal Dash. That's for damn sure. I love winning, and the Sixers get a win. I'm chasing that feeling for Wednesday. But right now, I still have that feeling because of Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that is actually fun. Deal Dash is the longest-running penny auction website and app around. Too good to be true? You bet it is. I've seen a car sold for $900. I've seen a brand new TV for less than $2. Do not be a loser and stop paying full retail price for the things you want and get on Deal Dash. Go to DealDash.com or download the app. By the way, when you register, you can enter the promo code COFFEE. There's a link in the description if you're watching on YouTube that will send you right to the checkout options with the promo code already involved. Yeah, he was. He was running away from the ball, and he was trying to run away in the corner, for sure. That was reality. That was a reality. How am I feeling about the Marlins series? Not good. There's never anything good coming from the Phillies Marlins series, especially when you're away from Citizens Bank Park. That only adds more to the mix. It only adds adds a next layer of terribleness. It's like not only are you playing the Marlins who you can't beat, now you're going on the road to play a team that you can't beat, and you can't win on the road, so it's the double whammy effect. Yeah, that Red Sox series was bad. Is Wheeler better than Nola? I think you're watching a more confident pitcher right now. You're watching a more consistent pitcher right now. The Phillies are 8-14 on the road. They're 3-7 in their last 10. And they are 23-24, tied with the Braves. The Braves have officially jumped you in the standing. So now you are in third place. And oh, by the way, the Miami Marlins are 22-24. It is possible that after this series, you could be sitting in a really uncomfortable spot. Now, the Nationals are at home against the Reds. The Nationals have started out the season in a weird way, although it looks like they just swept the Baltimore Orioles. They won 4-2, 12-9, 6-5. So they are now 20-23. I bring this up because all I'm saying is if the Phillies have a bad season, a bad series against the Marlins, which I could see happening, it wouldn't be breaking news if that was the case. They're going to dwindle their ways down into that Nationals territory. If that's the case, we got some problems. If that's the case, we have some serious, serious issues. The Braves still need some solid pitching to get over 500. Yeah, they do. They need help in the pitching department for sure. They need help in the pitching department. There were a lot of injuries in play, though, to start the season out. right? With Soroka. And like at one point, their starting five, their 5-man rotation, three of those guys were out. It's kind of hard to start your season with 3 of your projected 5 starters just not being available to throw for you at all. Padres and Dodgers are both refusing to lose. Yeah, I mean, that you figured at some point that was going to happen. You figured at some point the Dodgers would wake up. You figured at some point the Padres would be able to get into a groove. The Padres are 30-17. They're both 9-1 in their last 10. And the Giants are 5-5. So everyone's talking about how the Giants are just going to be at the top of the NL West forever. And to be fair, I don't put them in the same category as the Dodgers. I don't put them in the same category as the Padres. So to see them at third at 28-19 is still overachieving. They basically have a 600 win percentage, which is very strong. But yeah, I mean, the other teams are climbing the way like you thought. Green says, I would give Joel a B for the game. If we're going letter grades for Joel Embiid, can I give him a B? I don't know if I could necessarily give him a B. I thought he wasn't on the floor, and it wasn't really his own fault. It was the referee's problem. So am I going to knock Joel for not being able to have a lot of minutes in the first half? Because once he played the second half, he was cruising. He was getting buckets, mid-range game, fading, fadeaways, jump shots, you name it. He willed himself into getting into that groove in that second half. So he wasn't available in the first due to some really bad calls and the some unfortunate plays that did not benefit him. I don't know if I can look at Joel as a B because I thought when he was on the floor, he was very explosive and he was getting his goals accomplished. Yeah, I don't know if I mean, I'm not going to tell you at an A+ game either. So I'm not going to be insanely critical of a B. I mean, I thought that he had 30 points. He had 30 points after barely playing in the first half. So that shows you how strong he was in that second half. But yeah, I mean, I'm not like I can't sit here and say like A+. I don't know if it's A+. Maybe like a B+. Can I go B+? Is B+ fair? I don't know, A-. Maybe we're in that A- category if we're going to go with the pluses and the minus lifestyle. It's in between that B+ and an A-. Is a B++ fair? Can I go B++? Yeah, 30 points in 30 minutes is an A game. Okay, I'm not like, look, I'm not going to, if you think B+, you think B+. If you think A, you think A. At the end of the day, you end up getting a victory, and that's what matters. Getting on the board, winning in that area is what matters for sure. Wells Fargo Center was about to explode yesterday. I could only imagine, dude. I could only imagine. That has to be the craziest crowd I've seen since Game 3 of the Celtics a few years back. Evan, were you at the game? Were you at the actual game? Or are you just saying from the TV you got that vibe? Because I got the vibe from my couch. There's no doubt about it. It sounded, just like Doc mentioned after the game, it sounded like it was full capacity. It sounded like there were a lot of people in there, even though it was only 10, 11,000. It was pretty damn explosive. And I can only imagine, like, I got goosebumps at one point. There was probably 2 or 3 times watching the game where I genuinely did have a set of goosebumps. I had the chills. I had the back of my neck was kind of chilling a bit, and I had the arms, my hairs on my arms sticking up. So I did have that. Wells Fargo Center, more like the Hells Fargo Center. I like that. I like that a lot. Is that utilized? Has that been said before and I never knew that? Or is that something that you just came up with? Because I love that, and it's amazing. Our transition defense is a problem. Yes, it is. You know that this team is going to run up and down the floor, this Washington team. That's what they like to do. It's a track meet for them. Get a rebound, run. 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 Nonstop. Get a rebound, run. Get a rebound, run. Nonstop. Get a rebound, run. And it's like your team is sort of lacking in that area. And I'm just wondering how much that's going to come back to bite you at some point. It's just crazy because this team, their effort is so strong defensively. And you would think with that area, why isn't it working in transition. Like, you focus so much and you're so heavily dialed into that area. You allow your defense to generate your offense. You're very strong. You're smooth with your team defense. And then all of a sudden, here is a scenario where it's effort. It's wanting to get back, and they don't do that. They don't do that. I don't know who's pitching tonight, honestly. I'll be honest with you. I did not watch much of the Phillies yesterday. So out of all these games that I've watched with the Phillies, which is basically all of them, I did not watch the Phillies yesterday. So I checked in, I tuned in, I kept up while it was happening, but I did not fully sit down and engage myself with the first game going on with the Sixers. That was just way more important to me. But I had it to the point where I was checking in. That's why there was no post-game podcast for it, because I don't think I had the focus level for it fully. Zach Eflin versus Rogers is what is on the mound. So that's what we got going for tonight. Probable pitcher, Zach Eflin versus Trevor Rogers. Evan said he was at the game, and he was 7 rows off the floor at half court. Wow, I am jealous. I think that you experienced a fun game. Are you going to another game, or was it just a one-time shebang? Rogers killed us last time. Rogers is a hell of a pitcher. Rogers can pitch the baseball. And I hate to pound this into everyone's brain, but he did go after Adam Hazley. Not right after. He went 13th overall, while Adam Hazley went in the top 10. So we're watching a fourth outfielder who can't play baseball very well, while we're witnessing such great play out of another pitcher who we could have had, sort of like Ian Anderson instead of Mickey Moniak, even though I know that Ian Anderson at times has been not the smoothest in the world. I'm going to go look up how he's doing. I've seen him get shelled a few times and on. As he has a 2.82 ERA. I must have just caught him on a bad day. I'm going to the game logs here, because I do remember watching him pitch. I was like, oh, he's kind of getting shelled a little bit. May 8th against Philly. Yeah, that's not the game I was thinking. He went 6 innings, allowed 3 earned runs. Toronto went 4 innings, pitched 4 earned runs in 4 innings. That must have been the game that I tuned into on May 2nd, where I was like, hold on a second. He's not playing that smooth. That's exactly what it was. It was Toronto. They lost 7-2, and he only went 4 innings. So it's like, oh, he's not doing very well. And then before you know it, here you go. You go back, and he has a 2.82 ERA. But anyway, yeah, that's another pitcher that you could have had, sadly. Sadly. Not a basketball fan, but that was an enjoyable game yesterday, not last night. Yeah. It was a fun game to watch. They came back. They exploded. The third quarter was great. The second half was great in general. The defense clamped down. Your shot makers started to make shots. Your three-point shooting was there. Tough one for Furkan. I'd imagine that Doc gives Furkan another chance to kind of redeem himself after that debacle. He missed some opportunities. He had some good open looks too. Early on he did. And from there it was, tough. Anxious to watch the Phillies tonight. They always fall flat against the Marlins. Not only that, I hate watching games in Miami. And I think it's obvious why. The fans aren't there. It's boring. It's quiet. But it's tough to get into a game. And you know me. I love baseball. I'm going to watch anyway. I'm diving into each pitch regardless. But there is something to be said about watching a game in that building. It's so boring. It's so dull. It's so quiet. It's so blah. It's so ugh. It's so ugh. It's so like, I want juice. I want to go to Atlanta where it's going to be loud. There's going to be energy. There's going to be it's going to be all of that. I want to go into a New York Mets stadium. I want to go to Citi Field where it's a hostile environment, where it's brutal, where it's right up 95. Like, I want that. When you go play Miami, it's all right. Same with Washington. When you go play Washington, it's like, all right, there's nothing with those stadiums. But I remember watching last year. Jeez, I got something stuck in my eye. It was Vince Velasquez on the mound against Miami. I went to my buddy's place. I'm like, yo, can we just throw the game on in the background so I can at least just keep my eye on it? We were hanging out. This was last season. And keep in mind, last season there were no fans and all in general, but they went and played Miami, and he's like, dude, you watch 162 of these? And I'm like, yeah, I do. But I realized, like, I promise, I was trying to tell him, I promise the games are not always this way. It feels that way right now because it's a disaster and you're playing the Miami Marlins. But I promise you, the normal games don't feel this way. It's a lot better when there's an atmosphere. You're watching it with cardboard cutouts. And oh, by the way, you're watching the Miami Marlins. I promise it's not like that way. And he was just laughing. What do I think of Doc's rotations? I thought Doc's rotations were what I expected them to be. It's not what I would have done, but it's pretty much basically what I expected them to be. I expected them to be deep. I expected them to be full bench at one point. I expected them to be all bench and Tobias Harris. I expected them it to be basically what we witnessed. I don't know if you're going to be able to go 11 deep all the time. A lot of that has to do with the fact of foul trouble, right? I mean, a lot of these guys were put into foul trouble. So with that being said, that opened the door for some of these players to slide in and grab some time. Uh, Tyrese Maxey got some playing time. It was about 7 minutes. Nothing that crushed you, nothing that hurt you. He had a really beautiful take to the basket, which you're just watching this kid grow over time, and it's been an amazing watch. So in terms of what did I think about Doc Rivers' rotations, I thought it was basically what I expected for the most part. I thought it was what I thought it would be. Very deep, going deep into it. He showed you an all-bench lineup all year. You figured you'd get it at some point. Tobias Harris in the all-bench. You've seen that before. You figured you would get that at some point. So there's that. I don't know how much longer he goes with it after this series. I don't know if it's a long-term thing. I don't know if it's a short-term thing. That will be left up to Doc Rivers. Random Gamer says, Brodes, I feel the rotation should be Matisse, Hill, and Dwight as Maxey and Furkan as situational. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying for the most part. 8-man rotation. Dwight, Matisse, and George Hill. I couldn't agree more. That's my 8. That's my 8-man. And then you're right. Depending on certain situations, certain matchups, things of that nature, if you need a shooter, like let's say, for example, if Seth Curry leaves the game, because Seth Curry did leave the game, you're looking for someone who can help space the floor for you, right? Would bringing in a Furkan Korkmaz at that time make the most sense because you're trying your best to fill that void with the shooter? You're trying to fill that void with the spacer who hangs out and camps out in the corner? Yeah, I mean, I think that there's something to that. So it all depends on the situation. It all depends on the matchup on the other side, the team on the other side, the players on the other side. Like it definitely matters in terms of, that. Do I plan on going to a Sixers playoff game? I don't have anything in my mind where I'm circling a date saying I'm going to go or whatnot. I have a lot of stuff to do work-related wise. So it's, I do enjoy going to the Wells Fargo Center, and I would love to go to the Wells Fargo Center. It's not like I'm anti going down to the stadium for a game. It's just hard with a lot of the stuff that I have to do post-game, to do that as well. But I'm not against it, obviously. No one would be. Yeah, that Memphis team last night was playing with some attitude. They were playing with some swagger, and they made a nice splash. That was fun to watch. That was a really enjoyable game last night. Omar says all these people said we should be scared of the Wizards. I don't think there was a lot of people. I think that there was more just people afraid to commit with the Sixers, more so than it was anything else. But yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer when you look at this 1-8 matchup that the Sixers are the better team. They're the more talented team. They have the better roster. They have the more ready-to-go talent. They have the superstar at the MVP level. I like Bradley Beal, but him and Russell Westbrook are not going to win much. There's a reason why they are 34 and 38. There's a reason why they're the 8th seed. So because they're the 8th seed, it tells you everything you need to know. After last night, I love Trae Young so much. Had to put the Knicks fans in their place. Yeah, Knicks fans are brutal. There really is no denying that the Knicks fans bother me. After all this, it's like, dude, you guys act like you are the greatest team in NBA history. You act like you're the best team ever assembled. There's no way that is possible. They're annoying. They're brutal. And they bother me. People are changing their predictions from a 7-game series to a sweep. Hilarious. In what series? Who had this series going 7? Were there a lot of people thinking that this series was going 7? You're talking about the Knicks series, or are you talking about the Sixers series? The AM window. I'm late. Morning, Brodes. I'm worried about Spencer Howard's velocity issues still. Yeah, that's a major dip. It's not a little dip. It's a major dip. To go from 96, 97 to 90 to 91. I mean, he literally went from 97 to 93. And then at one point, he was throwing as low as 90. That's a quick dip. And you're talking about within 2 innings. His first 2 innings were amazing, right? The off-speed pitches. He utilized the changeup. The fastball was blistering. And then before you know it, you're in a situation where you're wondering, what is going on? How is this happening? How are you throwing 90? How are you getting crushed? How are you getting just destroyed? Is he a bullpen piece? Does that show you everything you need to know where he can't go the distance? He can't go 6. He can't go 7. He drops that low. And there's got to be an injury. There's got to be an injury. He talked about how his pace, his heart race running to first base was a problem. Excuse me? Running to first base the inning before is going to dip your velocity 7 miles per hour. If that's the case, wow, we have some problems. No, Spencer Howard is not the closer. No, Spencer Howard is not the closer. Spencer can't get people out at that speed. I agree with you. No, not at 90. Not at 90. At 97, 98 he can. And in 19, when this happened, they tried to say adrenaline dumped after the running to first base. I don't remember them saying that. Unless, wait, is that 2 different parts of it? He can't get people out with that speed. You're right. He got rocked last year and in 19 when this happened. They tried to say, it wasn't the adrenaline. I hate that. I think that's really bad. I think that's a really bad thing to say, whether he feels that way or not. I mean, you don't want to hear that. Well, I ran to first base, so I can't control my pitches. Well, if that's the case, that's a problem. That's a problem. Yo, Brodes, how can you convince me the NBA is worth watching? What's up, Maddie? I'll tell you how. It's the greatest sport on earth. It's just that simple. Brandon comes in with a $5 donation. I'm a Pens fan for hockey, Philly for everything else. Grew up in Scranton, so I saw the AHL Penguins. Sorry. Thoughts on the Isles Penguins series? So it's funny. I recorded an Open Ice Hits podcast, which is my NHL pod that will be dropping after Coffee with Brodes is over. And we talked about this. I can't get a feel on this series. It's choppy. The way I described it is choppy. They're all over the place. One game, it's one thing. The next game, it's the other. And it's weird. You can't really get a feel. There's no flow game to game, and no one's really grabbing this. I don't know what this means. I do know that it's big for Game 5. You got to try and get a win in Game 5 because Game 6 is in a territory where if you lose Game 5, you could be set up for failure. I just don't know if the goaltending is going to hold up. Jari and the glove side has been the storyline for a reason. Montreal and Carey Price in Game 1 was the storyline for a reason. Nashville and their netminder was a story for a reason at one point, making an obnoxious amount of saves. When you don't have a netminder, that's telling you everything you need to know about your position. So I think that, in the playoffs, if your goalie's your biggest problem, you're probably going to fail. And it's a shame because this team with a real netminder could probably do some real damage. I'm going to bring this up because, it's a hot item after this game. So people want to hear about it. Was I happy with Ben Simmons after Game 1? I was happy with Ben Simmons after Game 1. I thought Ben Simmons was very strong in a lot of areas. I also saw its ugly head, though, show. So that bothers me. I loved his game. I thought he was strong in a lot of areas, and I thought his downfalls and his problems that we've seen forever continues to happen, which you escaped in this game. Will you escape in other games? I don't know. If you're not playing the Washington Wizards, so as the series continues and as you play different opponents, what happened with Ben Simmons in that game where your point guard is running away from the basketball, is that going to be an issue for this team later on? I think it's very possible. So you can appreciate the greatness and you can recognize the downfalls, and you can do both after a big win, but that doesn't take away from the big win. It was beneficial for this team to get that type of production 1,000%. 1,000%. Harper looks stoned at the dish. That strikeout was bad. 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 Real bad. 3 straight fastballs. 2 of them he looks at. Come on. And then for Joe Girardi to go lefty, keep Brad Miller in. Brad Miller in. I didn't like that at all. I'll be honest with you. I didn't like it. And I know the next game, Brad Miller had some success. And I'm not telling you Bohm would have absolutely dialed in and made a huge play in that 7th inning in that game where they lost 4-3 on Saturday night. I don't know if Bohm would have came up with the clutch hit. I just don't like sticking with Brad Miller in that spot. That's baseball 101. When Hernandez is in, you got a lefty on the mound, you pinch hit for Brad Miller and you put in Alec Bohm. I mean, that's just where it's at. Although Bamboo Brad stepped up the following game, he didn't step up the previous game or I would have pinched it. Boom. I love basketball. I also love the AFL. I think this is the Australian. What was it? The Australian Football League? I think you were commenting about this before. There is basketball-like skills as well as big hits like the NFL, and it is 80K crowds at most games. I'm not denying that sounds like a good time because that absolutely 100% sounds like a great time. We just don't have access to it here. So with the Australian Football League, it looks amazing. It sounds like it would be something that we would go nuts for. Physicality, aggressiveness, 80,000 fans. There's just no access to it over here, and nobody cares about it over here. So for me, it's like, I don't know what to do with that. Like it'll be cool to see one of these games, but in terms of getting emotionally tied, it's sort of like soccer, right? And it's big here. That's what makes us put it in comparisons. Like soccer's huge, soccer's monstrous. I very, very rarely tune into the English Premier League, but I get it. I watch it. I understand it. I know the better teams. I know the big organizations. I know it all. If I can't get into soccer, there ain't no way I'm getting into some Australian Football League action. That's for damn sure. Put Hoskins in center field. Hey, Odubel Herrera has been on a tear, man. Odubel Herrera has been on a really nice stretch. Just saying. You don't look at that position anymore as a problem. You don't. You look at center field as almost fixed at this moment. As you should. Harper looks hurt. You can see after some swings. I agree. He swings his arms out to stretch his shoulders. He's getting terrible jumps on the ball, and there's been a few where he laid out for it. Yeah, I mean, that one where he dove and he came up just shy. Maximum effort. He just couldn't finish the job in that one play. That was also on that Saturday night. Yeah, Bryce Harper is banged up. I mean, there is just no denying that Bryce Harper is having an issue. By the way, I do want to let you guys know about Orbit Energy and Power. They are home to your solar experts. So whether you're looking to go solar to get water purification systems, clean, healthy water for you and your family, backup energy services, battery storage, you name it, tree removals, electrical upgrades, Orbit Energy and Power is located in Mantua, New Jersey. They do work in PA, New Jersey, Florida, Delaware, Maryland. Their information is orbitenergy.us. That's their website. And their phone number is on their website as well. You can Google it all. Orbit Energy and Power. Yes, they are the best in the business. Joe trying to force him in games. I mean, I don't know if it doesn't come down to Joe. I think at this point, it's Bryce Harper. You don't get Joe Girardi forcing a player like Bryce Harper to play. It's a Bryce Harper decision. If Bryce Harper's playing, Bryce Harper's having that. I don't think Joe's saying, Bryce, you are playing. You are playing. It just doesn't work that way anymore, especially with the caliber player like Bryce Harper. He's making the decisions. Harper goes deep tonight. Jim is calling it. I wonder if is I wonder if he's going to play. Like, I wonder if they're going to try and give him another rest day or not. They got the win without him. Do they try and sneak another win without him? I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. They did make it seem like it was just an off day, and Joe made it very clear, just an off day. It's just an off day. It's just an off day. Just kept talking about it's just the off day. But I don't know. I mean, he's clearly in pain. He's clearly in pain, and he's in a brutal spot for sure. I don't think it's a sneaky great pickup. I think it's a great pickup. I don't think it's sneaky at all. I think it has to do with it being a very good pickup in terms of spacing. And I think we recognized that right from the jump. You knew Danny Green wasn't the same player that he was in San Antonio and that he was when he was 25, 26, 27 years old. But you knew spacing-wise to pick up Seth Curry, Danny Green, that mattered. So having that conversation back at the time of winning basketball games early in the season and even before you saw any sort of regular season action, you knew that the spacing on the floor was going to help out these guys big time. And that's monstrous for sure. So I don't know if I can label it as sneaky. I thought it was kind of good the moment it happened. Not in terms of, this team can go win a championship, because I don't know if I thought that strong about it, but I thought that the team made sense roster-wise. I thought if you're talking about schematically, the team had a lot more, focus on that part of it where the team had structure and the team had spacing surrounding players like Joel and Ben. You needed that, and you just didn't have that. The other day, that guy said Korkmaz is clutch, Hurts is not. I thought he was talking about Tobias Harris instead of Joe Harris, and I would have snapped. Well, if anyone's talking about Korkmaz being clutch. Oh, yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that. Hilarious. Funny times. I wonder where the Sixers would be if they dealt Danny. Well, they would have Kyle Lowry. So that's, the alternative is you still would have had skill. The alternative is you still would have had a lot of, you would have had a lot out there still. So you would have replaced Danny Green. You would have had a primary ball handler at the end of the game that can still provide a lot of spark for you. So, you still would have had a player like Kyle Lowry out there if that was the case, if you did move on from Danny Green. But you're right. I mean, it could have been a different ball game. There's a reason why he's still here. Could have been a different ball game. Could be a different team. He brings a lot of veteran leadership. I think he brings what you need versatility-wise on and off the floor. That is crucial to winning a championship. No doubt about it. Thoughts on Shake? I thought Shake sucked in his first stretch of minutes, and I thought he played better in his second stretch of minutes. But in 10 minutes, he was like minus 14 or so. So it tells you everything you need to know about his play on the floor. I mean, he was a part of that, a big part of that 10-0 run that the Washington Wizards went on. I thought his first stint was garbage. Second stint was good. Well, it wasn't as bad, I should say. Eric says Simmons will cost us again. Probably. I mean, probably. What you saw at the end is a situation that will cost you. So, yes, I do think that it will cost you at some point. I do. Joseph said getting Danny was good for two reasons. First was it was getting a player like and Danny, and second, getting a player like Danny. Is that what we're trying to say? And second, we get rid of Al Horford. Yes, you're right. The Al Horford contract was abysmal. Just a little choppy on the text there. I didn't exactly know where we were going. But look, Coffee with Brodes is ending here today. I want to thank everybody for hanging out. I want to thank everyone for, all the support to this point. If you haven't joined the fun on Twitter at Brodes81, get your chance to win your Ben Simmons City Edition jersey at Brodes81. It's pinned to the top of my profile. I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out with me. Big Sixers win. We'll be back tomorrow. We have the Phillies tonight. The Phillies take on the Marlins. Zach Eflin versus Rogers. Good pitching matchup. We'll see if they can win 2 in a row. They did a good job at salvaging the series, even though that series sucked in general. Their defense is putrid, and it makes my eyes bleed. They win that last game, which is a lot better than getting swept. Move on to the next series, and let's see if they can win a game against the Marlins. Thank you all, and I'll catch you next time.